lift me.
Hi, hello, hi everyone. This is Grace again. I'm here. Sorry for the music.
Hope alive.
I just wanted to take this minute to come live, and today is Thursday. I'm so delighted to be here and to be doing this today. I feel like I needed to come out here. I know I had a scheduled author that I was supposed to interview today, Miriam, in regards to a topic that is, that is going on around, and there's a lot of issues going on with domestic violence. And I felt that I needed just to come out here myself, my face, by myself, and just talk about, just have a candid talk. Not because there is anything going on with myself. I mean, I'm doing really well. My life right now is in a good place, and I'm in a good place myself. But I just wanted to have a candid talk. Sometimes we put on faces, and we put on masks. That sometimes we don't show our real self. And with the social media and all that goes on, it's very easy to be able to be perfect, and people to always put on the perfect face. But we are not perfect. And as James says, the good book, the Bible says, James 3:1, Paul says that nobody is perfect. We all have our shortcomings, and we have to be able to face our shortcomings. We have to be able to face our challenges, be able to acknowledge them, and say, I'm not perfect. I might look as if I'm perfect. I might look as if everything in my life is going on right and it's beautiful. But there are times you really just have to come and say, what, even me, I have my own anxiety. This week was a perfect week where I felt like so overwhelmed. And the beginning of the week, I was all set to do the live. I was all set to host Milliam and talk about domestic violence. And I was really feeling that I needed to come out and share that. But I was really overwhelmed with kids starting school. I have three blessings. I'm not complaining about them because I love them dearly. But I have three blessings, and sometimes I was so overwhelmed with remote learning. It just feels like, especially when I have a kindergartner who needs me to be there constantly. It's as if it's me who's in school. To redirect her to sit down, redirect her to listen to the teacher. It just feels like it's me who's been, who's in school. And so I don't know, some of you who are parents like me, you might be facing the same thing. You might be feeling the same thing that I'm feeling, that, of being overwhelmed. And so I just wanted to come say, I had to call the person that was hosting, and tell them that, tell them that today, we're gonna have to move it to next week. And I feel good. Sometimes you beat yourself down and say, hey, maybe I shouldn't have done that, but I feel good that I did that, because at this point I felt like I needed that space. And so I just wanted to come here and say that it's always good to be able to acknowledge your weaknesses. And for those of you who know, it's good to be able to say, these are my weaknesses. These are the things that challenge me. I'm overwhelmed. You take a space back. As I said at the beginning, it's very easy, especially with social media, to be able to be putting up a perfect smile, a perfect face, where everyone thinks, everyone, you have a perfect life. And we have seen this time and again, where we find people, they were put in a perfect life, but inside them something was eating them, and they didn't realize that something was eating them. And sometimes that's how it is in life, that you find yourself, something is eating you, but because you have to put on the perfect face, you have to put on the perfect life, you have to show how perfect your life is, you really can come out and say, I need help. And so I just wanted to come this space and say, what, it's good sometimes to be able to acknowledge your weaknesses. It's good sometimes to be able to say, hey, what, I'm weak. God just lift me up. I was just listening to that song by Hillsong, and they were singing about God being our strength. And sometimes it's just coming out and saying, God need our strength. So as I talk about these imperfections in our lives, I don't know what imperfections you're dealing with in your life. I don't know what weaknesses you're dealing with. People deal with a lot of imperfections about themselves. And one thing I like, and I like to acknowledge, is that you can't lie to yourself. You can lie to us, you can lie to the cloud, you can lie to everyone, but you can lie to yourself. Deep inside yourself, you know what is your weakest point. You know what makes you feel so weak, what makes you feel so vulnerable. Deep within myself, I know myself, and there's that thing that makes me feel so vulnerable. And so as I come here to say, to say your weaknesses, I don't want to point anybody's weaknesses. You are the one who know yourself. You know your weaknesses. You know what makes you so weak. You know what makes you so scared. You know what makes you, you wouldn't want even anybody know, because that's your weakest point. But you know yourself. So, there are so many weaknesses that we can deal with and we can talk with. We can talk about. There are people who deal with weaknesses because they are addicted to alcohol. Some people are dealing with their weaknesses because, they have anger issues that they have to deal with. Some people have very traumatic experiences they have dealt with in their lives that they really, if they opened up and they discussed about those, people will be like, we'll look at them in a different way. So all of us, we know our imperfections, and your imperfection, I know my imperfections. There are some things that if I opened up and I shared about my life, people will be like, wow, she's really not perfect. But you are the one who know your imperfections. So as we talk about our imperfections today, I want you to be able to dig deep within yourself and find out what is your weakest point. What is your the imperfect person that you wouldn't want people to see. Nowadays I'm seeing that we are wearing masks. And, sometimes masks are very good at hiding, you can't really tell who it is. They are making us pass by. We don't have to wear lipstick anymore because we have a mask. You can't really see anybody who has lipstick. So I just wanted to say that you are the one who know your imperfections. You are the one who know what bothers you. But I wanted to come out and say, there is when you're dealing with your weaknesses, you have to be able to say the serenity prayer. The serenity prayers goes like this: that God, help me to change what I can change and to accept what I cannot change. Sometimes that's the prayer that you need to be able to say. The first step is for you to acknowledge your weaknesses. What are your weaknesses? Acknowledge them and say, these are my weak points. This is what I need to work on. This is what I need to improve on. This is what I want to work on. For example, myself, I procrastinate, and that's my weak point. I have to be able to say, this is what I'm going to be dealing with. These are the goals that I'm going to be setting for this week, and this is what I'm going to be working on. So for yourself to be able to, to get there, you have to be able to acknowledge your weaknesses. The second step is for you to be able to say, are the weaknesses and the imperfection that I'm going to be able to change. This is what I'm going to be working on to change. This is what I'm going to work on to be able to change. And you have to be able to say, there are some things you can't change. If you went through a traumatic experience in your life, that's an imperfect part of your life that you really can't change. You have to be able to say, I can change that imperfect part of my life, but I'm going to be able to move on. I'm going to be able to make perfect the rest of my life out of that experience. Some of you have gone through abusive relationship. You have been in an abusive relationship. Myself, if I opened up about my abusive relationship that I was in before I got married, some people will cringe because it's scary. But I was able to build out of it and say, what, I can't change that. There are people, you have been divorced, and that's life. And it just feels like you've gone through a divorce, and you will meet people who will label you as a divorcee, and they don't want anything to do with a divorcee because they don't realize, and maybe they don't even know what brought about the divorce. Maybe it was an abusive relationship and you had to come out of that marriage. So those are the things that I want us to be able to say today, to acknowledge today, that we're gonna work on them. You can't change those things. You can't change that you are in an abusive relationship, in an abusive marriage, and you left. You can't say that, but you can be able to acknowledge what you need to change and what you need to work on. So for me, as I come here and discuss that, I just wanted to say that the first step, as I said, is for you to acknowledge your weaknesses, acknowledge your imperfections, acknowledge what acknowledge what's eating you. There's always something that is eating you. So I would say that when it comes to weaknesses, you have to acknowledge what is perfect in your life. I've known that I have to be, for me to be a strong person, I have to be able to say, these are my weaknesses. This is who I am. I can't separate the perfect me and the imperfect me. They have to coexist. And that's what you have to be able to acknowledge yourself, that the imperfect you and the perfect you, they have to coexist, and they have to be able to work together. You have to be able to improve that imperfect you, to be able to to improve it and make it better for you and make it better for other people. So as I conclude that imperfection, I know I did it was my talk. I didn't have a guest, but I'm delighted I was able to do it. I said I'm gonna come here and say, today we don't have an ebook, we don't have an author that we're interviewing, but I'm also working on myself talking live. As you can tell, I'm delighted to be here, and I'm so delighted to have been able to have that talk about imperfect. I'm not perfect, and I thank God. I thank God for the good critics. I say that I'm open to criticism. I'm always open to people saying, "Hey, Grace, this is what you can do to improve." And I'm glad for the person who brought up that that sometimes I feel so like I'm not genuine sometimes. And that's a good criticism. I'm not afraid of criticism. And so I'm working to be more genuine. And as I work to be more genuine, work with me. If you watch me on ebook joint, work with me, because for sure with time I'm gonna be perfect. And again, I just wanted to say thank you again for watching me. You have a wonderful weekend, and let's keep safe. Next week we're gonna be interviewing Miriam. Miriam, who has a book. It's on Amazon, and her book is about domestic violence. So tune in. It's gonna be a wonderful talk. We're gonna be talking about that. And thank you again. Continue reading, continue subscribing, continue getting new books, and continue discovering new titles as we continue with this journey. And thank you again.